In regards to declaration of interest, members must leave the meeting or end the call remotely. And finally, a reminder now that the meeting has been recorded and will be made available on the Comhairle website following the meeting. Moving on to the minute of the meeting, the first item is the minute of meeting of the 8th of February 2024 for approval. Thank you. Item 2, again, declarations of interest, where members are asked to declare any interest they have in any items of the agenda. It will be helpful if members have expressed why they're declaring an interest in the item concerned. And please ensure the declaration of any is repeated prior to the relevant item and you adhere to the protocol as previously indicated. I'm not seeing any members, there's none in the chamber, and I'm not seeing any in Comhairle that are online, so I take it there are no declarations of interest. Okay, noted. We move on now to performance monitoring, item number 3 on your agendas. This is service business plans and operational risk registers for 24-25. Report by the Chief Executive seeks approval of the Comhairle service business plans and operational risk registers for 24-25. Appendices 2 and 3 have been circulated separately in the service business plans and risk registers folder on SharePoint. And we have Rebecca MacLeod in the chamber who will speak to this report and answer any questions. Rebecca.
Thank you, Chair. So business plans are developed every 5 years alongside the corporate strategy, and they're reviewed periodically within this time. And this new template, you can see it's the second time it's been presented to committee. It now includes a summary of risks at section 2 and also the resources allocated to the service at section 5. And they've been to all the service committees as well, this series.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Members, any questions for Rebecca? No. Agree the recommendation at 3.1? Agreed, thank you. Item 4, business continuity plans. Again, this report is at service committees and it's a report by the Chief Executive and it's for noting and provides an update on the status of business continuity management across the Comhairle. Now, I'd just like, as a point to note, these are really important documents that have been used during the cyber incident and through the weekly meetings of the incident management team. The most up-to-date documents in relation to business continuity are available to members on SharePoint. And before I ask Rebecca to come in, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive maybe just to give us a slight overview. I do appreciate we've got a report coming on cyber incident to policy and resources, but Mr. Barr, if you're there.
Yes, thank you. I'll be very brief, given the business in front of us and the remarks that you've made. But if we ever doubted the usefulness and the necessity for business continuity plans, the cyber incident proved these to our satisfaction, because we have followed the plan that has been very successful in giving the structures that are necessary for recovery, and also, of course, the reassurance. That's why we have plans. It's not just for the sake of them. It's to set out our strategy. It's also to give reassurance that when matters occur, we have a place to go to guide us through whatever has to be done. These business continuity plans, these go to all service committees and to Policy and Resources Committee, not just here. So they are important documents, and I do commend them to you. They're all there on SharePoint. We didn't reproduce them on this agenda, but it's a very mild recommendation of noting the report. But again, there's a lot on this committee, sometimes on Policy and Resources, that are for noting, but it doesn't mean they're any less important. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Rebecca, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Chair. So the folder that you've mentioned on SharePoint, the business continuity management, that'll be kept up to date throughout the year as documents are updated, and it'll be available for elected members and corporate management team to view. It'll be used as my central storage point. Services will have their own electronic copies and hard copies available for their own service recovery teams. And just to clarify, business continuity plans are used when a minor incident occurs which disrupts business activities. These feed into the corporate plan, which is invoked if a major incident is declared. And the updated corporate plan will be presented to the next series.
Thank you very much for that, Rebecca. Members got any questions for the Chief Executive or Rebecca on this? No. Okay, insofar as this committee's interests are concerned, the members agreed to note the report then? Thank you. We now move on to item 5 on your agenda, Best Value Public Performance Reporting. Again, a report by the Chief Executive, and it's for noting and provides an overview of the coroner's public performance reporting duty of best value for the 22-23 period as per the Publication of Information Standards of Performance Direction 2021. I would like to acknowledge the huge amount of work that has gone into this from Fiona Nape and her team in managing to collate all the information despite the recent cyber attack and still manage to submit all information by the deadline. And Norma Skinner is here today to talk us through the report. Ms. Skinner.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, this is highlighting that the Comhairle met its statutory duties in terms of reporting. SPI 1 is about improving local services and service outcomes, and all this information that's been presented is about reporting the progress against these outcomes. And SP2 is about demonstrating best value through self-assessment, audits and inspections. And again, that's about balanced reporting, timely reporting and access to the data. And again, through all this information, a lot of which is available online to the public, that has demonstrated that we're meeting our requirements. I'm happy to take questions.
And that is encouraging to hear, Ms. Skinner. Thank you very much for that update. Members, any questions for Ms. Skinner? No, not seen anyone. Do members agree the recommendation at 3.1? Thank you. We now move on to internal audit matters. Item 6 on your agenda, this internal audit operational plan for 24-25. Again, this report by the Chief Executive seeks approval of the internal audit operational plan covering period 24-25. I'm pleased to have Mr. Sandy Gomez, our Chief Internal Auditor, is available to speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, this is the operational plan for 24-25, as you said, which follows year 2 of the 23-26 strategic plan. So details of the work for the year ahead are in the appendix. There is a recognition that, obviously due to the cyber attack, not all of the work of 23-24 was able to be completed. So we will endeavour to try and complete this as it is feasible. Likewise, what's in the plan for 24-25, due to the effects of the ongoing effects of the cyber attack, it may be possible that some of these reviews may not be able to be undertaken, but we will work with the services to try and complete as much as possible. Finally, I've also added in, which wasn't on the strategic plan, a planned review for the cyber incident and the response arrangements. So this is something that we will take from contingency days and hope to report on this within the first half of the year. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Any questions? No. Members agree the recommendation at 3.1? Thank you. Moving on to item 7, internal audit key documentation update. This report seeks agreement to continuing use of the current internal audit charter, manual and anti-fraud, corruption, bribery and irregularity strategy and response arrangements. The Public Sector Internal Audit Standards, PSIAS, requires that internal audit sections have an internal audit charter that includes specific requirements contained within the standards. The standards require that the organisation's Audit and Scrutiny Committee approves the internal audit charter. And could I please recommend to not just the members of this committee, but to all members to read this charter and this manual. There's a lot of good reading in here, a lot in there. So, Mr. Gomez, want to talk us through the report?
Thanks, Chair. Not really much to add to what you've said. These are required for approval at the start of each year, so they were previously reviewed, amended and approved at April 2023. There's no changes in either document since then, so they're just submitted for recommendation for approval.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomez. Members, any questions?
Just one.
Yes.
That's William Mackenzie.
Councillor Mackenzie.
Yeah. Just first of all, the definition, it says internal auditing is an independent objective assurance. So they are completely independent objective assurance, and also independence, objectivity. Internal audit will be sufficient independent of the activities in audits to enable audit staff to perform their duties. And I think somebody else would say about that they have permission to obtain any records anywhere within the organisation. So I just want confirmation of that. That's the way that seems to be the way it reads here. So that's
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mackenzie. I'll ask Mr. Gomez to respond to you.
Yes, I'm happy to confirm that internal audit operates independently as per the charter.
Thank you. You satisfied with that, Mr. Mackenzie?
Thank you. Yeah, it's clearly there.
Thank you. Do members agree with the recommendation of 3.1 then? Thank you. Moving on now to item number 8. Again, it's Internal Audit Progress Report for 23-24. This report by the Chief Internal Auditor summarised the internal audit activity within the Comhairle and Siar for the period covering 1st April 2023 to 9th April 2024. The activity has been based on the approved strategic audit plan for the 3 years to 31st March 2026 and the revised operational internal audit plan for 2023-24. And again, Mr. Gomez will speak to this report. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, just the normal progress report. At the time of writing at 3.1, there was one review in progress, which was Care at Home. This has now been completed and so will be submitted to the June series. There are no active investigations. 4.1 shows the follow-ups that form part of the agenda. And the appendix shows a snapshot of where we are with all reviews that were in the amended operational plan. So as I previously just mentioned, not all were able to be completed due to the cyber attack, but we'll endeavour to try and reinstate these as time allows in the 24-25 year.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members agree to note the report? Thank you. We now move into follow-up reviews from internal audit, which we have 2 in front of us today. The first one is item 9 on your agenda, Construction Design Management. As a report by the Chief Internal Auditor provides an update on the findings of the original report on construction, design and management, which was issued on 1st May 2023. Mr. Gomez is available to speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just as you mentioned, not too much to add. There was only one recommendation in the report, which has recently been fully implemented. So we're satisfied that this report has been completed.
Can't get much better than that, Mr. Gomez. Thank you. Members agreed to note the report. Thank you. Moving on to item 10, Residential Care Services. Again, a report by the Chief Internal Auditor, which provides an update on the findings of the original report on residential care services, which was issued on the 10th of July 2023. And again, Mr. Gomez is going to speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, good progress on this report. This was completed in the summer of 2023. There were 8 recommendations originally, 6 of which have been fully implemented. The remaining 2 just have longer timescales for implementation, so they will continue to be followed up on a continuous improvement action plan.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members, any questions? No. Agreed to note the report. Thank you. Move on to completed reviews now. Item number 11, the first one, Eilean's growth deals, claims process. This report by the Chief Internal Auditor has been prepared following an internal audit review of Eilean's growth deal, claims processes as part of the operational annual internal audit plan for 2023-24. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the Comhairle's arrangements for the operation and management of the Eilean's growth deal. And again, this is a very good report we have in front of us here, and Mr. Gomez will speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Nothing really much further to add. This is the second review on the Eilean's growth deal in the 23-24 year, the first one being of governance arrangements. Similarly to that one, excellent work being done here and no recommendations to make at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members agree to note the report? Okay. Item 12 now is corporate training. Again, a report by the Chief Internal Auditor, which has been prepared following an internal audit review of corporate training as part of the operational and annual internal audit plan for 23-24. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the Comhairle's arrangements for the operation and management of corporate training. And again, Mr. Gomez is going to speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. I think there's just a mix-up on the agenda. This is actually a follow-up review. as you can see, there was 11 recommendations. So at 1.6, you can see there's 11 recommendations in the original report. 5 have been fully implemented. The reason being is that a lot of the good work that they had started was lost at the time of the cyber attack. So it's just a case of trying to rebuild that work that was done beforehand. So a lot of the work is just ongoing, and we'll continue to follow it up.
We'll keep it monitored as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Thank you. Members, any questions? We're happy to note the report. Thank you. We move on to catering trading organisations. Item 13 in your agenda. Again, a report by the Chief Internal Auditor has been prepared following an internal audit review of catering trading organisations as part of the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the CONUS arrangements for the operation and management of catering trading organisations. And again, Mr. Gomez will speak to the report and answer any questions members may have. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, this was a good report. There's only 3 recommendations to make. One of them being a medium risk, the other 2 just being housekeeping issues. There's good practice here with knowledgeable staff and comprehensive procedures in place. The medium risk recommendation relates to training being updated, which we understand is making good progress on it. So happy with the work that's been done here.
Thank you very much for that. Diane, are you still there? Do you want to come in and catering manager?
Yes, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much for asking me to attend today. Yes, 2 of them have the low risk have been completed. They're in place, and we're working on the medium risk. We're identifying training needs for our catering and cleaning staff, and a training plan has been put in place. So a lot of training has been done online during COVID. So we're moving more into face-to-face training, and we're using the COLA's training organisation there to be able to deliver this, which is really good for our staff.
Thank you very much, Diane. Thank you. Members, any questions for either Diane or Mr. Gomez? No. Need to note the report then?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry, Norrie.
Sorry. Councillor MacDonald?
Yeah, I'm getting bored with this going through so fast. Can I ask if anybody thinks that there's not a risk to the catering organisation, if they think tuna and cheese is a good idea?
No.
Moving on swiftly. Members agree to note the report. Thank you. Okay, item 14, community learning and development. This report by the Chief Internal Auditor has been prepared following an internal audit review of community learning and development as part of the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the CONUS arrangements for the operation and management of community learning and development. And again, Mr. Gomez will speak to this report and answer any questions from members. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is just a review of the CLD. I've noted that some background information at 1.2. The last paragraph really just shows that it's recently moved. Part of the CLD has recently moved to the community engagement unit. So whilst there are no problems, there's a good working relationship between the staff and extended learning and CLD. It was just really to know that it may potentially bring issues in the future when there's a new CLD partnership plan for 25 to 28. But other than that, there's 7 recommendations to have been made, 5 of them medium risk. The main ones really were surrounding the Pointers Youth Centre, which there was a report of the previous education meeting which was discussing that also. And similarly, one of the recommendations was around the ESOL provision. Again, there was a report discussing that. So there is progress being made on all the recommendations that we've seen so far. So I'm happy to take any questions on it.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Before we open for questions, Fiona McInnes-Beggy, would you like to come in? Fiona, are you there? No, no wait.
Yes,
yeah,
I
no,
am.
there's Fiona. Yeah.
Yes, pleased to see this report being tabled. I think we've probably taken a lot of strides forward in terms of the amalgamation between ourselves and the community regeneration team as we became part of the community engagement unit, although there's still a lot of work to be realised, I think, in terms of the actions. Progress being made on many of them that were assigned a medium risk. So confident that we'll achieve what's been set out for us to do.
Thank you very much for that, Fiona. Thank you. Councillor Colin McLean.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was going to question actually that item that Sandy Gomez mentioned, was that the CLD has come under the Chief Executive's wing. And yet, I'm trying to get it here, but through memory, reporting arrangements still remain to go to the Education, Sport and Children's Services Committee. There seems to be a wee bit of a disconnect in my, as I read that there, and as I think of community learning and development being under the Chief Executive's wing, whereas one would expect it to be still under, the education wing. I can't remember the rationale behind it. It happened in the past, I know, but I still question the rationale, to be quite honest with you, because if you're talking about a community learning and development, you're losing something out there. I'm not saying that the Chief Executive isn't capable of doing the work that's there, but it seems to be a disconnect, and you mentioned it. Yeah, just to
Before I ask Mr. Gomez to come in, is there someone in Comhairle that wants to come in? Malcolm, who's there?
Well, I can answer that point.
Chief Executive, thank you.
And it's always a matter of debate where community used to be community education, in which case it was quite clear, but it became community learning and development. Now, if it's community learning, arguably more on the education side, community development, of course, is very much on the Chief Executive's policy side. And because we had a number of individuals and a number of units supporting community in various ways, that's why we formed community engagement. It can always be argued either way, but I think we have the balance right in that there is still reporting to the Education and Children's Services Committee for the community learning side. I think that's right. It might look confusing, but I think that's right, because the members of the Education and Children's Services Committee, I think, would expect to see information on community learning. But as for the management of it, it's all under, all units supporting the community are under one unit. As Mrs. McInnes-Begg has said, though, integration is a work in progress, and there are always specialist elements that will remain. You can put them anywhere, and they will remain doing what they do and reporting, in this case through education. So it's always up for debate, but it's in the process of bedding in, and I would suggest to you it's bringing benefits and the coherence of community support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Chief Executive. Councillor McLean.
Yes, can I say that I see that there's two different aspects within that, as Chief Executive rightly said. There is community learning and there is community development, and I feel that maybe we're losing out on the community development side, and we talk about that with development officers. So you mentioned that yourself, Chair, times before that. Whereas the community learning is, in my mind, I'm just that coming from an educational background. I would say that there seems to be a disconnect between the two, and I still maintain there is. But that's, as you say, that's a matter of interpretation and what have you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Thank you. Any other members? No. Okay. Happy to agree to note the report. Thank you. We move on finally to item 15, which is reports outstanding, and this is for noting. And I don't think there's anything really on they're all there in front of us, so that's for noting. Councillor Gordon Murray.
Thank you, Chair. It was just on item 18, which is a report on the local code of corporate governance, and I was going to ask if someone could send me a copy of the schema delegation. It doesn't seem to be on the website, and it's quite an important document.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. I'm sure we can arrange that. I'll ask the Chief Executive to note that maybe and get that arranged. Chief Executive, are you?
Yes, my colleagues at Democratic Services will arrange that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mackenzie.
Yeah, just before he runs for the door, I was just wondering, to see this going back and forward tonight, Is it possible, such like on items, to have the informal meeting? Save the evening.
Sorry, Councillor Mackenzie, we didn't quite pick up what you were saying there.
Well, I was really asking the councillors to have the informal meeting now.
All right, yeah.
I don't suppose it's going to take very long.
A lot of people.
Chair, can I come in?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Steele, yes.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be suitable since a lot of members have left.
Yeah.
The anticipation for that.
And the bus is coming at 5.
And the bus is coming at 5, so.
Oh, right.
So, yeah. So I think.
What's the time then?
Okay, so regarding the next scheduled meeting of the Audit Committee will be on the 20th of June 2024. And thank you all very much for your participation, used and in the chamber and online, and to our colleagues in external audit as well. Thank you very much today. Thank you.
Thank you.